The WBC have now officially ordered Shakur Stevenson to defend his WBC lightweight world title against William Zepeda next. And Oscar De La Hoya responds to that by saying, William Zepeda is so badass, he has 4 sanctioning bodies to choose from.
Shakur Stevenson and William Zepeda's WBC title fight hangs in the balance as financial disputes delay negotiations, with a May 6th deadline looming for an agreement.
And I want to see Shakur Zepeda.
Shakur Stevenson is here as well.
He accept, De La Hoya accept, Eddie accept.
The ongoing negotiations between Shakur Stevenson and William Zepeda for a WBC championship title fight have caused a stir in the boxing world. The WBC has given the camps of both fighters 30 days to come to an agreement, but tensions are rising as the deadline approaches. If the two sides do not reach an agreement by May 6th, the fight will go to a purse bid, putting the matter in the hands of third-party bidding. The negotiations between the fighters' teams have been rocky, with recent accusations making the situation even more complicated. Oscar De La Hoya, the promoter for Zepeda, publicly claimed that Stevenson had pulled out of the fight after all the trash talk leading up to it. The post quickly went viral, but it didn't sit well with Stevenson. In his usual outspoken fashion, Stevenson fired back, calling out De La Hoya's statements as misinformation. According to Stevenson, the real issue was not fear or reluctance to face Zepeda, but a financial disagreement between him and Turki Al Sheikh. Stevenson claimed that Turki had promised him a certain financial figure for the fight, only to backtrack and offer a lower amount. Stevenson's frustration was apparent as he took to social media, venting about the situation and challenging both De La Hoya and Zepeda's camp. He posted, "Now stop lying and crying and make this shit happen. Oscar De La Hoya, William Zepeda. Y'all like playing dirty, right? Well, I'm down to fight, Stevenson's undefeated record and his WBC lightweight title have earned him recognition as one of the top fighters in the division. However, critics argue that he hasn't yet faced the stiffest competition, leading some to question whether his resume is as impressive as it appears. Zepeda, with his relentless knockout style and undefeated record, is seen as the kind of opponent who could challenge Stevenson in ways others have not. Former fighter Tevin Farmer, who has experience with Zepeda, weighed in on the matchup, cautioning Stevenson that Zepeda's high output in the ring would pose significant trouble unless Stevenson could secure a knockout. Stevenson responded to Farmer's comments, not backing down from the challenge and even joking about betting money on the outcome. For Stevenson, this fight is not only a chance to defend his title, but also to prepare for a potential unification bout with Gervonta Davis, another top lightweight contender.
As for Zepeda versus Stevenson, this fight goes one or two ways, right? It's all based on ring size. If Shakur gets the bigger ring, the fight is in Shakur Stevenson's court. If Zepeda gets the smaller ring, the ball is in Zepeda's court. I favor whoever gets the ring size, because Shakur Stevenson ain't got the work rate to keep up with Zepeda. He ain't got the heart to keep up with Zepeda. Move too much. You ain't never seen him have a great output of punches in a fight. Yeah, that work rate is gonna kill him, bro. Shout out to Tev, because Tev got a fucking tank. He showed that in a fight like that, bro, going against Zepeda, you gotta be able to absorb those body punches and just the output of punches.
While Stevenson has made it clear that he is ready for the fight, the negotiations have yet to yield a concrete agreement. The WBC has intervened, ordering both sides to reach a deal within 30 days. If that deadline passes without an agreement, a purse bid will take place, determining the financial terms and ensuring the fight goes forward. Stevenson has been vocal about his desire to get the fight done, but the financial issues seem to be the main sticking point. His social media posts have placed additional pressure on Zepeda's camp, as well as De La Hoya, who had hoped for a smoother negotiation process. Stevenson posted, "Is that what they told you? Turki promised me a number, and now he going way back on that number that he promised me, and sending his towel boys to run me the info instead, telling me straight up what he trying to do." Zepeda has earned his shot at the WBC title by defeating top contenders and putting together an impressive 33-0 record with 27 knockouts. His victory over Tevin Farmer, which earned him the WBC Interim Championship, has solidified his position as a top challenger. Despite his recent success, Zepeda has faced setbacks of his own, including an injury that forced him to pull out of a scheduled fight against Stevenson earlier. However, with Zepeda's camp now pushing for the title shot, the fight seems imminent, provided provided the financial terms are agreed upon. Oscar De La Hoya has been vocal about the situation, claiming that Stevenson is simply trying to avoid the fight over financial concern. De La Hoya insists that the proposed offer is the most money Stevenson has ever been offered, yet Stevenson has repeatedly expressed dissatisfaction with the term, pointing to a lack of transparency and miscommunication in the negotiation process. Stevenson has even referred to Zepeda's camp as towel boys, an apparent reference to the people delivering messages instead of direct communication. This situation has added more fuel to an already heated rivalry.
But based on what you saw between Shakur and Padley, are you more or less confident in Zepeda or Schofield's chances against Shakur?
Man, it's a tricky question because, you know, obviously, you know, I'm a fighter at heart always, and I know styles, and I know this and that. Shakur's one hard man to beat, but not impossible, right? I mean, no, you know, it's not impossible. His style is very difficult.
The potential for a big fight between Stevenson and Zepeda has raised eyebrows across the boxing world, with many anticipating an exciting clash between the two undefeated fighters. Zepeda's knockout power and relentless style are expected to present a serious challenge for Stevenson, whose defensive skills and counterpunching have earned him praise from fans and analysts alike. However, some critics have suggested that Stevenson's reluctance to accept a fight with Zepeda might stem from a desire to avoid a tough test before a bigger fight against Gervonta Davis. The world's attention is now squarely on this potential showdown. Stevenson, for his part, is pushing for the fight to happen, despite the obstacles in negotiations. He has gone public with his frustrations, repeatedly insisting that he wants the fight and that it's the financial terms, not fear of Zepeda, that have slowed down the process. He has made it clear that he is willing to fight, but the deal must be right for him. This stance has not gone unnoticed by Zepeda's camp, which has pointed to Stevenson's apparent reluctance as a sign of hesitancy. However, the fight is still very much on the table, and both sides are under pressure to come to a resolution.
I've never seen a fighter with the kind of defense that Shakur Stevenson has. For me, that includes Floyd Mayweather. I feel like Floyd, all respect to Floyd, but I felt like he was fighting guys that showed their punches before they came. I felt like he was fighting guys that were a step behind where they used to be. And I think that there's no secret of that. That's also coming from somebody that really, I got it honestly, like I started watching, I didn't really start paying attention to boxing until 2016, 2017. I didn't, you know, I did it, but I didn't want to watch it. So,
and a lot of fighters are that way.
I'm just letting you guys know when I'm talking about somebody like Floyd, I didn't see Pretty Boy. I saw highlights of Pretty Boy, but I didn't sit down and watch Pretty Boy like I sit down and watch Tank and analyze these fights and things like that. When I watched Shakur fight, he was making defensive moves, and then guys were throwing a punch.
Meanwhile, as Stevenson continues to chase a potential unification bout with Gervonta Davis, the drama surrounding his fight with Zepeda is just the latest chapter in a long-running saga. Stevenson's move to the lightweight division was largely motivated by the hope of facing Davis, and now that he has secured a title in the division, he has been vocal about wanting the fight. However, the negotiations surrounding a Davis-Stevenson showdown have been fraught with complications, and some believe that Stevenson may be waiting for Davis to age out of his prime before making the fight. Davis's camp has criticized Stevenson for potentially using this strategy, suggesting that Stevenson is attempting to wait until Davis is no longer at his peak, similar to tactics employed by other fighters in the past, such as Floyd Mayweather.
So let's exclude Tank from the conversation. If that never pans out for your career, that fight, what do you feel like is your pathway to becoming the superstar, right? Like the guy where it's like, all right, you the face of boxing or a cash cow. Like, what does your pathway look like, excluding Tank?
Honestly, that was my dance partner. like being real with you, that was my dance partner. That was the guy who like I envisioned. Cause I always knew how good he was. I always knew how good I was. I envisioned him being the guy that I gotta fight. And I'm the guy he gotta fight. And that was like what I really was banking on, far as like, you know, when it comes to superstar. But I think it's a lot of young guys coming up that we just never know who's gonna break through or have a big name in the sport. Like things can happen overnight. So yeah, things can happen for me overnight. So we just never know. So I can't really give you no names, but I know that's gonna happen.
Davis's co-trainer Kenny Ellis expressed his belief that Stevenson is trying to age Davis out, which he sees as a classic move in boxing. Ellis made it clear that he wasn't impressed with Stevenson's tactics, arguing that Tank Davis is still in his prime and that Stevenson is simply trying to wait for the right moment to strike. Ellis's comments have added fuel to the fire, with many boxing fans speculating about whether Stevenson's pursuit of Davis is starting to look like a long shot. The uncertainty surrounding the potential fight has left fans wondering if the two champions will ever face off in the ring, and whether Stevenson's career will be defined by his attempts to land the fight. Ellis said, "People want you to do what they want. No, it doesn't work that way. We are the face of boxing. You missed the boat. He missed the boat. They don't control us. They don't tell us when to move. They don't tell Tank when to move. It's a possibility. You never know. As Tank says, he could retire. We'll have to wait and see what he does. Whatever he does, I'll respect it. If he goes ahead, he has my support. Many of these guys had the opportunity and didn't take it. Move on. Life goes on." While Stevenson remains focused on his goal of facing Davis, other fighters in the lightweight division, such as Zepeda, Raymond Muratalla, and Andy Cruz, are waiting in the wings, ready to challenge him. Zepeda, with his aggressive knockout style, represents a real threat to Stevenson's undefeated record. For now, Stevenson's future is uncertain as he navigates the complexities of the business side of boxing, balancing the desire for big money fights with the reality of negotiating terms that satisfy all parties involved. As the clock ticks down on the 30-day negotiation period for the Stevenson-Zepeda fight, all eyes are on the two camps. Stevenson has made it clear that he is ready to fight, but the financial disagreements must be resolved first. If a deal can be struck, the fight promises to be a thrilling contest between two undefeated champions, with Stevenson's slick boxing skills going up against Zepeda's relentless aggression. However, if the fight falls apart, Stevenson's hopes of a unification bout with Davis could be in jeopardy, leaving him with difficult decisions about his next move.
No, like with Tank, I always knew, like, with him being the big superstar, you know, it's gonna happen on his time. It ain't gonna be on my time. So I'm gonna call for it. I'm gonna say his name. However, he could get mad, how he get mad, but truthfully, it's on his time. Whenever he say let's fight.
In the meantime, Stevenson's manager Jay Prince has weighed in on the situation, expressing his belief that the fight with Zepeda can still happen. He emphasized that, like any negotiation, it comes down to the honor of all parties involved. Prince also addressed the criticism of Stevenson's style, defending him as a special talent who excels at the art of hit and don't get hit, much like Floyd Mayweather. He also discussed the possibility of working with Davis in the future, acknowledging the potential for a big fight between the two. Abdullah Mason has shifted his stance on a potential fight between Gervonta Davis and Shakur Stevenson, now leaning towards Stevenson. Reflecting on Tank's recent struggle in his draw against Lamont Roach Jr., Mason believes Stevenson would have the edge in a matchup. He stated, "Based off the last Tank fight, I'm probably leaning towards Shakur in that one." Evans Tobler acknowledges that Gervonta Davis holds the top position in the 135-pound division and views him as the current face of boxing. He believes a potential showdown between Davis and Shakur Stevenson would be highly thrilling. Tobler also commends Davis and his team for successfully maintaining his dominance at the top of the weight class.
Who do you view as the best of the 135-pounders? It's being billed as this 4 kings, 3 kings. It's sort of hard to keep track, but how do you summarize that division and who's at the top of it at the minute?
There's only one, and that's Gervonta Davis. Everybody else, they're coming up the ladder. So I'd like to see him and Shakur fight, and then we could, we can really say who's the best. But at this moment, he's the best at 135, and I think he's the face of boxing as well. He's exciting, he's explosive, and I think this Gervonta Davis is hard to beat. He's focused, he's zoned in on what he needs to do as a professional fighter, and his team, unbelievable. Coach Calvin, Coach Kenny, that whole team, those men know him. They know him as a man, and when you have that type of relationship with these fighters, the sky's the limit. So Gervonta Davis is, without a doubt, the best at 135.
Coach Larry Wade, recognizing the significance of a potential Davis-Stevenson fight, insists it's a matchup that must happen. Wade predicts that if the two do meet in the ring, Davis will come out on top.
I hate to say it won't happen. I feel like that's too big of a fight for it not to happen. I think the length of the time of when that fight happens helps determine the outcome of that fight. If I had to pick someone today, but of course I would pick Gervonta Davis, and the main reason because he has everything there is, including experience. Shakur Stevenson is extremely talented as well and very gifted. It's not going to be an easy fight for either guy, but if I had to pick one guy today, it'd be Gervonta Davis.
Jarrett Hurd offers a unique perspective on Davis's power, stating that while other fighters in the division, such as Lomachenko and Stevenson, might pose challenges, none can escape the devastating force that Tank brings. Hurd suggests that Tank's knockout ability makes him a constant threat in the division.
Can anybody take that power at 135, in your opinion?
Hell no. Hell no, man. If you look back on PBC, where everybody's hitting that punch machine, Deontay Wilder, Eddie Reed, all them. Tank got the highest joint for a reason. Your man got bricks.
Teddy Atlas takes it a step further, suggesting that Tank Davis is perhaps the only fighter capable of solving Shakur Stevenson's highly effective defensive tactics.
Because Shakur Stevenson is that difficult. Because of his style, because of his abilities, because of his eyes, because of his, his legs, that his hand speed, the way that he controls range. Tank Davis is the only guy that I can see that could possibly decipher that style and beat Shakur Stevenson.
Meanwhile, Shaquille Daly believes Davis only needs a single punch to overpower Stevenson, predicting that Tank's power will be too much for Stevenson to handle, especially as the fight enters its later rounds.
So if he faces Shakur Stevenson, how you see that going?
So I feel as though he gets Shakur in the later rounds. If he gets Shakur in the later rounds, I'm about to say Tank really has like that one type of power. Like all he really needs is one punch. Shakur, he gets hit, but he don't get hit a lot. So it'll be like a back and forth type fight. But I'm going with Tank.
One man who knows what it's like to share the ring with both men is Keyshawn Davis. Keyshawn is picking Shakur to come out victorious if the two do ever meet. He said, "I think Shakur will win. I think Shakur got better skills, and of course he's better defensively. I'm always going with the better skill and the better defensive fighter. Tank's skill is phenomenal, but I just feel like he's offensive first. I feel like Tank is the type of fighter where he'll either be offensive first or he'll be very, very, very patient and just try and catch you slipping. Certain fighters just smart, you know." The lightweight up-and-comer says the fight will definitely end in a split decision. "I just think Shakur will win that fight. It'll be a hell of a fight, a hard fight, and it's definitely going to be a split decision, but I've got Shakur." As the days count down to the deadline for negotiations, the boxing world is on edge, waiting to see whether the Stevenson-Zepeda fight will come to fruition. If the fight does take place, it will be a defining moment for Stevenson's career, as he will face one of his toughest challenges yet in Zepeda. The stakes are high, and the pressure is mounting on both camps to reach a resolution. So what are your thoughts about this? Do let us know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos on the screen right now.